Welcome back to another episode of Was That Trauma? I'm your host, Audra,
And I'm Courtney.
and we have been absent for a while, but we are now back in full effect. No promises on a timeline, but hopefully we will start to get this recorded on a more continuous basis. But I appreciate you guys listening to the episodes and continuing to give us that drive to record more podcasts.
Life is just getting in the way sometimes. It's been really busy. I have a son we've mentioned before, and he's getting ready to graduate. So there's just been a lot going on with that. And just life in general kind of slows this down a bit, I think.
Yeah, and I think, sometimes we have a plan, we're going to record, and then something goes over time, and, we not that recording isn't fun, but, we choose something funner over recording. So, Courtney and my husband and her son often play, what is it?
We play Dungeons and Dragons. No, we play that. We do want to play
It's
that.
something like that.
We play Magic the Gathering.
There you go.
So, and it can take hours.
So often if we're running late, a lot of times Magic wins over recording the podcast, just because, it does take a lot of time, and, it brings everybody, I don't do it, but it brings everybody else joy. So that often wins out. But Courtney's going to be closer to us soon, and so we are looking forward to just an overwhelming amount of podcast episodes being brought to you guys soon.
Yes. It'll be easier to be more regular. I think there's times during the week where I have time, but we live about 30 minutes apart on a good day, 40 to an hour on a bad day. So
yeah. All right. Yeah. And I have just been working. Not too much to report on my front. Want you a little bit?
Yeah. So this week we were kind of coming up with ideas. I think one of the things I was thinking about was medical related things. I don't know if you have any medical related horror stories, trauma stories.
I don't know if I would call them horror stories, but I have some medical stuff I can talk about.
Oh my gosh. So I will tell a story. I don't think I told it, but if I have, then great. You're about to hear it again, but I don't think I did. So I had to, in 2016, I had to get my gallbladder removed. I had a bunch of gallstones, and it was fine. I had read up a little bit about what does that look like moving forward. I don't know if anybody else has had it theirs removed that's listening, but it really changes the way you eat. I won't go into too many details, but what I will say is, when I was little, I went through a phase where I just didn't want to wipe my butt because it was gross, and I had everybody else wiping my butt.
Yeah.
I didn't leave the bathroom with dirty butt. I just refused to do it myself. And so when my parents were like, "Nah, we're not doing that anymore," I just refused to poop. And so I ended up having to have like a suppository and all that stuff. I don't even that's not the right name. Suppository.
Yeah.
Okay, great. If it's not, that's fine. Y'all are fine. Y'all get it. And then but I will tell you, since then I've had like stomach issues where I'm I was always constipated. So anyway, flash forward, I get my gallbladder removed, and now I have the opposite of issue where I would have diarrhea constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So my trauma story, I guess, or horror story.
Oh, God.
So I was really struggling.
I didn't know if this is where I was thinking we were going.
No. Here's the thing. I was struggling. I was struggling to figure out like what I can and can't eat. And it got to the point where like I was just eating lettuce and chicken for a minute because I just was like, this is the only thing I can eat with no flavor or anything. And when it had been a couple months, and I had thought that I had kind of figured it out, and I thought I had leveled it out and everything was great. And I went to my son's baseball game, and either his grandmother got it for us or I got it not thinking clearly. But I got Chipotle, And I thought I did pretty good. I thought I did like a simple bowl. And so I saved it for after the baseball game. I was starting to eat some in the car. And then I started driving, and my stomach, I felt something. And I was a good 20 minutes away from home. And I was like, I think I can make it. I think I can do this. And I was sweating, and I was like, oh no, I think I'm gonna shit my pants.
Oh my god.
And my son was in the car with me, and he's got his little baseball outfit on and everything, and we pull up to the apartment, and I look at him, and I'm like, let me tell you something right now. Here's the car key. I'm gonna need you to lock this door, and I'm gonna run up these stairs, and I need you to leave me alone. And he said, okay, Mama. And as soon as I stepped out, it happened. And the worst thing was, I had to go upstairs. And so as I'm lifting my leg every time, it's getting worse and worse and worse.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And so I'm in the bathroom. I'm cleaning myself up. I'm ashamed. I'm like, these pants are trash. I refuse to clean them. And my son, I hear like a little knock at the door. He's like, Mama, are you okay? I was like, please go away. Please leave me alone. It was like a little bit of silence, and he goes, it's okay, Mama. It's okay. It happens. Aww. And I'm like, I just need you to go away.
Leave me and my shame alone.
And it was just this thing of like, I was almost, it was 2016. I was almost 30. And it was just one of those things of like, I am a 30-year-old person. And I just shit my pants. And now, when I've heard people have shit their pants, I'm like, yeah, they probably couldn't help it. Like,
I get it. Like, you shouldn't judge them. So I used to listen to that podcast. I haven't listened to it in a while, but the podcast called Bitch Sesh. Have you listened to that with Casey Rose Wilson? And June's on there sometimes. It's Casey and there's a Diane. And so Casey had talked about, she actually did that. Like, she woke up and discovered that she had pooped the bed. And that is like a fear. Like, ever since I've heard that episode, I'm like, I hope I never wake up to a poop in the bed.
It's a thing. It's a thing of like, I haven't shit the bed, but it was this thing of like, there's nothing in my soul that's going to keep this inside my body. There's not anything in the world that I could have possibly have done outside, not H. Polly, but that I could possibly have done. What's funny is about
no amount of clenching is gonna keep that in.
No amount, especially when you have to go upstairs. What's funny was 2 weeks later, Aiden wanted to go to Cece's. I've never returned to Cece's because I only had like one piece of pizza, and within 15 minutes, I had to run to the bathroom, and I was in there for 30 minutes at Cece's. And and my little tiny Aiden, my little son, he's 18 now. He had to have been 8 or 9. Yeah. He's just sitting at Cece's eating the all-you-can-eat buffet, and I'm just texting him, are you good? Yes. Okay, I'll be out in a minute. And I could not be there with him because I couldn't control it.
I hope my kid doesn't get kidnapped while I'm pooping.
That's why I kept saying, I was like, don't talk to anybody. Don't look at anybody. And I'm just like, I need to hurry up. And it just wouldn't stop. I did not want to shit my pants again. But I never returned to Cece's because I'm terrified now.
That is not the medical trauma I thought you were going to talk about.
Medical related.
I don't know if it is. Yes, you had a surgery.
It's medical adjacent.
Okay, so the stories I came up with are wildly different.
Well, let's hear yours.
I mean, like I said, I wouldn't say mine were like horror stories. Mine were just mine's medical, as in the fact that, and you already know, I've said it, I've been quite vocal that I am not and sorry if there are any male doctors listening, but I am not a huge fan of having a male doctor for 99% of anything. I do have a male eye doctor. He is the only exception. You can play that "You Are the Only Exception" song.
Oh, is that the one with
Dr. Tran?
Yes.
Yeah, he's amazing. He is the only male doctor I like.
He's fantastic.
And that is because He is a genuine person. He makes you feel comfortable. He legit cares about your eye care. And that's amazing.
I don't know if he like makes notes about people.
He remembers.
Yes, because
he
we'll
remembers.
go in there and he'll ask things for, like, I hadn't seen him in 2 years. And he was like, how's this? And how's this? And how's your brother? And how's your, your sister-in-law? How's the kids? So he's fantastic.
Yeah, he remembers. No other eye doctor has ever been able to keep my prescription. He specifically, now maybe he doesn't, but he tells me, and I'm gonna believe him. He specifically keeps my really awful, extremely high. Most places would never have a sample of a -12 contact, because that is the highest you can go in stock, but he does keep that on hand for me. And I appreciate it. And he sometimes has extra, and he gives me whatever I need. And he says, you can call me, with this or that, because he's concerned about, my retinas and all that stuff. And he is just an amazing eye care physician. But aside from him, I am not a fan of male doctors. Specifically, so my medical not happiness comes from. So I had a male gynecologist, not of my choosing, because when I first went to the gynecologist, I was young, and of course, my mom sets it up. So it was uncomfortable on a couple of levels. So one, he was the person who delivered me. It was my mom's gynecologist, and this person physically delivered me.
I don't like it.
So that creeped me out to begin with.
That creeps me out.
Yeah, right. Hey, you delivered this person. Now, anywho.
Now let me see what's going on in there.
Yeah. So there was one time, and I can't remember how old I was. I was probably still a teenager. And I will not lie, and I'm not going to delve into my previous sex life or the journey of my start of my sex life, but at this time, I had sex before, but at this time I was not having sex, nor had I had sex in an extremely long time. And I went in for my exam, and he asked, are you currently having, sex and stuff? And I said no. And he said that, he goes, don't lie. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And he continued to essentially tell me that I was a liar, and I was lying, and I wasn't, because I know what's been in my vagina. So
this is a pervert.
Yeah, and then he proceeds. He would take a really long time on the breast exam. Also, it would take forever. It made me uncomfortable. And so I eventually told my mom. After that, I would see the nurse practitioner, who was a female, and I completely saw a difference in the exam I would get from him versus the exam I would get from her, which was still professional, but it was not lingering, in my opinion. Because am I hitting the mic with my? If I'm hitting the mic with my chin, I'm sorry. But his was always lingering, especially that breast exam, and I was not a fan. My mom continued to see the guy. She liked him. Thank God he's now retired. I think there was also a thing about him, but he got over it, whatever. And so there was that. That definitely had, and I'm bad about it. I don't go see the gynecologist like I should, and I'm quite sure that is why I often also cry when I'm at the gynecologist, because it is very traumatizing to me to be in a gynecologist's office. I'm gonna cry just talking about it.
Yeah.
But
that's horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't a pleasant experience. But that is one of the also a major reason of why I do not like male doctors. But I did not like them before, because even ones that I had when I was younger, so like pediatricians and stuff, well, all of those have been male. And I did not like the way I don't feel like they listened. I don't feel like they listened. I don't feel like they really took what you were saying. Like whatever they believed is what they believed, and whatever you said didn't matter. So one time I went, so had soccer practice, and I was being goalie, and I dove for the ball, and my pinky bent all the way backwards. Yeah. So like my pinky touched my hand, and my dad's one of those dads where, and it hurt, right? So I was crying and upset, and my dad being, of course, at least one of those dads back in the day, it was like, either go sit down or stop crying, essentially. Like, either work through it or don't. Because I didn't know if it was broken. I didn't know what was going on. So, I just finished out practice and stuff, and we kind of just kept an eye on it. And then I started to get like a bend in my pinky. And so we went to the pediatrician first. And essentially, they and as a parent, you try your best to judge on when you should take your kid to the doctor. Yeah. And I know my mom and my parents were doing that, and he essentially told my mom she's a bad parent for not taking me in sooner. Like, he was just like, why did y'all wait this long to come in here? And I wasn't a big fan of that, because I was just like we knew, fool. Yeah. We didn't know what was going on. That got on my nerves. Anyways, men.
It's funny. I think I've had men doctors before. Aiden's doctor that delivered him was a man, but I did not like him. The reason I picked him, number one, I got pregnant when I had just turned 20. So I'm coming out of being a teenager. And so at the time, I just looked online to see who had the best reviews, and he had really great reviews. And I said, okay, well, then that's who's going to have my baby or whatever.
This is me. Who has the best reviews? That's a female. Yeah. That's what I do.
Well, I was like, I don't care. So, but yeah, he was very, it was very that. Any weight that I gained from being pregnant, is that you shouldn't be gaining weight. It was a lot of things about my weight. Yeah. And which only made it worse. It only made me want to gain more. So, but there was that. But what's interesting? I don't know if it could just be a coincidence. But when I think about the way some of the men doctors have worked with me, it is that way. A very like, you're making a big deal. It's just this or whatever.
Mm-hmm. They disregard how you actually feel and what's actually going on.
And that's not to say I've never had a good one. There's an urgent care by my house that has an amazing male doctor there that I do. Mm-hmm. I don't go anymore because they're not my network, but he's fantastic. But what I will say is, having a son, watching him as he's older, not a child, but now that he's in his teens, if I do go with him, they're great with him. They listen to everything he has to say, and it's a different level. And I don't know if it's just you don't trust women, or it's just, I don't know, but I've watched them be great. And again, it could just be coincidence in that he happens to have better doctors. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I think another story that I was thinking about too, I have like back issues. I've had I've been in car accidents. I've had other things. I used to be in the drill team, and we used to have to like jump into a split and land on the ground. Mm-hmm. The reason I'm saying this is, as an adult person, there's a crack. I don't know what it's called. I don't know the medical term, but there's a crack in one of my vertebrae. And they said, typically you see that crack in gymnasts. And so they were like, were you in gymnastics? And I was like, no, I wasn't in gymnastics, but I was drill team. These are the things that we did. And I said, probably that's where you broke it, which was funny because that's when my back pain did start. It was around that time as well. All of this to say is, sometimes what they do is pain management. And so I would get like a spinal, where they'd go in and put like a block in there, it would only last a certain amount of time. But the last one I got, I apparently they do it, you can do it awake, but I have no interest in that. Having the epidural, that was no fun. I'm not doing that awake if I can avoid it. So one of the pain management places, they're fantastic around here in Plano, and they were like, you know what? No, we're pain management. If you don't want to feel it, you're not going to feel it. And to the point where like even my IV that they put in my hand, they numbed my whole hand first.
Oh,
so
wow.
I didn't feel any of that. They're like, you will not be have any discomfort at all. Like, we don't want any of that. I was like, great, awesome, cool. So, and I think this is the second one I got with them. I can't remember, but so I went in there and mind you, it's not surgery. They just put you in twilight. So you're like asleep, but they're not knocking you completely out. Like, it's twilight. So I do remember going in there and I did fall asleep, but I also remember I woke up because I felt a pinch on my back. So when you're doing it, they have you leaning forward kind of, and then they have you, it was a way that I was like, it was enough for me. They didn't strap my arms down because I don't think they thought I was going to wake up. And so I remember I felt the pinch and I ripped my arm out of the thing and I tried to swat it. And then the nurse said, no. And she grabbed my arm and she was like, it's okay. You're okay. I was like, something's on my back. She was like, that's what we're doing right now. I was like, oh, okay. And they're like, can you give her some more, please?
Stat. Yeah.
Was that, and then I think there was another time, I don't know if that was trauma, that's just funny to me, but there was another time that I think I was in, so when I was in high school, I think I was 16, maybe 17, but I think I maybe 17, 16 or 17, doesn't matter. Point is, I was grown, but because of my age, I had to have a procedure done, and I had to go to Children's Hospital because I was a kid. And so what happened was I was laying in bed and it was the middle of the night, and I don't see this anymore, but I don't watch regular TV anymore. So that could be why. But in the middle of the night, like at 11 o'clock at night when I Love Lucy's on, right? You would see commercials that would be like, have you checked for breast cancer? Here's how you do it. And they would have like a cartoon. And I remember I was laying in my waterbed and I was like, I'm going to do that. I lifted up my arm and I started feeling, and I felt a lump, and it felt probably the size of a dime. And I was like, what? And so I hop out of bed. I have my shirt on, but I'm cupping one of my boobs to hide it. And I know my dad's awake, and I run out there. By the way, I lived with my dad. So I run out there. I have one boob in my hand. The other one's covered my shirt. I was like, Dad. And he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, feel this.
Oh my God.
And he was like, I think I have a bump. I think there's something there. And he was like, oh, okay. Yeah, there's something there. And so, yeah. And so he was like, we'll get it checked out. So we get it checked out. They're like, yeah, that's a lump. We need to remove it. So we need to see if it's cancer or whatever.
Oh my God.
And I was like, okay. And so at that time, they thought it would be like a quarter size. I felt a dime. They looked at it. It looked like a quarter size. And so they take me to do surgery. And I had never had surgery. And they don't tell you anything. And I'm a child. I'm not a child. I'm a teenager. But they don't tell you. And first of all, the mask was too small for my face because it's for children. And it was like, it only covered my nose and just my mouth, which is what it's supposed to do. But it was like really tiny covering it. So they're like, what flavor do you want? I was like, oh, am I going to taste it? They're like, well, it's a smell. I was like, okay, bubblegum. They gave me bubblegum. Girl, they put it on my face and I started going, and I started sucking it in as hard as I could. They were like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know.
Like, I'm a kid. I just doing what I think I'm supposed to do.
The nurse was like, quit doing that. And when I woke up, I think, I don't know. But when I woke up, I was uncontrollably vomiting because...
Oh, you got too much.
Yes. And so what's funny is every time I have to have like a procedure, I'm always like, just so you know, I wake up and throw up sometimes. I say this, but it's only happened that time. And when I have my tonsillectomy. That's the only... Oh, no, my gallstone made me nauseous. Oh. But that was the only times I've actually been like nauseous. But every single time I go, I'm like, just so you know, I'm a throw-upper.
I'm a thrower-upper.
Well, you know what's funny? So they get in there, they take it out, and the doctor comes in later, and he's like, yeah, so it was a lot bigger than we thought, and we had to take some of your back muscle, and we had to take some of the breast tissue from the side. And so it ended up being the size of, I think when by the time they got there, they thought it would be an egg, and then it was the size of a small orange. It had embedded itself.
Holy moly.
Yeah. It had embedded itself, they said, in the muscle and a little bit of the breast tissue.
Oh my God. What
was interesting was, it's like I have a big scar under my arm right here, but I can't feel parts of like the back of my underarm, and it hurt for a while. Like I don't know. They didn't do physical therapy, but in my head, I was like, you took a part of my muscle. I just feel like
right.
that needs
Yeah,
physical
that makes
therapy.
sense.
But as an adult person too, that side of my back tends to pull more, and I'll have knots on that side more. And they had told me it's probably because a piece of my muscle was taken, but I don't know. Anyway, that's crazy. Don't inhale your anesthesia like that.
Guys, don't get lumps in your body that have to be removed.
Don't go crazy when
that could go bad
on your face.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of medical stories. The only other thing that I guess I have a couple things, but the only other thing that really came to mind was, and I feel like I've told you, or maybe I said it on here before, I'm not sure, but there was one time, and I was a teenager, or it could have been like an older teenager. It could have been 18, could have been 19. I could have been 16. I don't know. But there was this new weight loss medication out, and I've struggled with weight.
What was it?
Oh, I don't know. But I've struggled with weight my whole life. Again, it stems from, I think, my mom stopped cooking when we were really young, so we were set to fend for ourselves. My dad didn't really cook, and as a kid who you have to make your own meals, you are not going to be busting out a chicken breast and frying it up, or putting it in the oven and all that stuff. So you're getting the bad thing. So if we had like a Nutty Buddy or whatever it is, like, I am getting the convenient stuff that is in the house, right? So you develop bad eating habits, and there's also nobody there stopping you. So if it tastes good and I have one, why am I not going to have another? So there's that. And I realized that, and I started to get myself healthy, like working out, trying to regulate my food and all that stuff. But it's been a lifelong struggle and a lifelong mental thing that I deal with. So there was this new weight loss medication that had come out, and my sister was telling me about it. She worked at this office at the time, and so I was like, okay, great. So I will preface this by saying this doctor, it did actually, I think, get their medical license, ended up being taken away finally, and or they cannot treat women anymore. I don't remember. I think it was they could not treat women anymore, and then possibly they went to jail. Okay, but anywho, so there was this weight loss medication that was out, and I went there because I've struggled with weight, and I don't even think I was big at this time. I likely was not. I was probably a decent size, but with somebody as somebody who has struggled, you don't always see yourself the right way, whether you
that body dysmorphia.
Yeah, and it's not always that I would see myself as big. I feel like I can see myself either way, but maybe just not the true self and stuff. But anywho, so I went there. My sister told me about it, so I went to, his name was Dr. Cruz, and I will say his name. And I went there and was talking to him about it. I was asking about the weight loss medicine. But he instead put me on depression medicine. So he did not assign the weight loss medicine, and he was just like, nah, you must be depressed. So he prescribed me depression medication, and I can't remember. It was a really common one. Anyway, I took that for a little bit, but it made me sad because I wasn't depressed. I definitely wasn't depressed. So I took myself off of it, but it's just another thing of going. And this doctor also did my dad dirty several times. So I don't know why my dad still had him. I think it was because he would prescribe my dad medications, and maybe my dad shouldn't have them, and or he was over prescribing my father. But my dad had some pain management thing. So much so he had a lot of pain. So they had a surgery and they put a pain pump in his body. So a pain pump, you go and you inject the medicine into the pump, and then it releases in your body throughout, the day or however long that the medicine's good for, whatever. And my dad started like having chills, and he started not feeling well. And so we would go to the doctor and had to end up going to the emergency room. No one there would listen to him. And his doctor, the doctor that I'm talking about, was saying, no, it couldn't be your pain pump. That's not what it is. And you're just, essentially they were telling my dad it's all in his mind. He's making it up. There's nothing wrong with him. They were essentially being like, you just want more pain pills, and so that's why you're here. Yeah. You want more pain medication, so that's why you're here. And it turns out my dad was going through withdrawal because his pain pump did in fact stop working. And that is a very dangerous thing. And that wasn't caught and probably for at least a month, I'm going to assume, because we kept going back. They even so far sent us to, and this is that doctor, sent us to a behavioral center because for a mental evaluation for my father.
Oh my God.
So they sent us to 2 different mental health facilities, and they were both like, there's nothing wrong with you mentally, so we can't do anything about it. Like, we don't know. They're essentially like, you shouldn't be here.
Right.
So we go back to the hospital. Anyway, eventually they found out that it was indeed his pain pump that stopped working when they told us over and over, it can't be your pain pump. That's not what it is. This is all in your mind, or you're just trying to get more medication and stuff. And I hated that doctor.
Yeah, that's the worst.
And my family kept going to this doctor, kept going to him. My mom saw him for a long time. I think until he couldn't treat women anymore, I think they were going to him.
Right.
And it is like, why? So this doctor went, I want to say he went to jail.
That'd be good.
But, well, you know how all that cement in the butt stuff was going on?
What?
That butt cement stuff, the Brazilian
like the Brazilian,
butt lifts?
yes.
Apparently, I don't remember if they were doing it or not, but I know that was intertwined.
That sounds like some nip tuck.
That was intertwined, but also, so he had people working in his office that, let's say they had the title of registered nurse.
But they were not.
But they did not have those certifications.
Wow.
And so they were giving people injections and doing all this stuff, and they were not supposed to because they did not have the credentials to do so. And I feel like there was some cement stuff that was tied into that, because it was a big news story that was actually run on the news here in Texas, and it was some people that we knew, including that doctor.
Oh my gosh, that's wild.
And we knew people that worked
there. I don't know if y'all can hear that pounding, so just in case you do, they're doing construction next door. I keep hearing it. I'm like, I don't know if this is picking it up.
The microphones are supposed to help not pick it up, but these are also just little microphones. We did have some podcast microphones, and those we had to end up returning. So
yeah, I would say my it's so funny. So you were talking about that weight loss. I remember I was in high school. We're only a year apart. I was in high school, and I was not fat at all. I've always had wide hips, but my waist was tiny. Like, I have pictures. I was very skinny. Not a tadpole skin. Like, I wasn't like, whoop, like Snatch, but I always had really wide hips. So I couldn't, like, my bones were sticking out, but I couldn't get below a 14, maybe a 12 in jeans. And I just thought that meant fat. But I also had a bubble butt. My family calls me buns. So there was no way to get around that. But at the time, when you're that age and, you're in drill team or you're in PE or you're in whatever, and all these girls are talking about their size 5, size 0 pants, you feel fat. My dad was great. Like, he got me a gym membership and he got me a personal trainer and all the things when I was in high school. But one of the things I saw, do you remember Anna Nicole Smith used to push Hydroxycut? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I've taken all of them.
And
Yeah,
it had,
I took Hydroxycut.
Hydroxycut, I think it was Hydroxycut. I'm 99% sure if it's not. It was something of the sort. But it had ephedrine in it. And oh my gosh,
Hydroxycut, Stacker.
Yes, I loved ephedrine. Mind you, I'm under 18 taking ephedrine. And my dad would buy it, and he'd be like, yeah, here you go, like, whatever. But I freaking loved it. It gave me so much energy. I was getting snatched. I was cute, all the things. And then I remember the year that they went ahead and said it's illegal. And
everybody buying that up.
Yes, yeah. Hydroxycut, they've tried it. They said, nah, it's still going to work. It didn't. It did nothing of the sort. Oh, but I used to love that stuff. That's what you said. I was like, I wonder if that's what
I'm the worst at taking weight loss medication because I could not be hungry. Yes. I could not be hungry, but my brain will go, you should eat, right?
Yes.
And so I will eat still. And it's like, but you're not hungry. So I still ate.
That's what we were talking about. So I am taking a GLP-1. And we were just talking about this. One of the things that I took it last year, I started about, I would say, so 2023 in September, August, that was my highest weight, which was about 355. And I would say in February, March of last year, 2024, I got with a doctor and I was like, I need to do something. At that point, I think I was 339. So I did go to the gym and I did do some of that work and it was working, but it was just, I would stall, I would get stuck. And so she was like, okay, yeah, let's put you on tirzepatide. And so actually I started on semaglutide. It didn't do anything. Then I switched to tirzepatide. And then the weight started coming off. And I think I stopped in September. And at that point, from altogether, by that point, I had lost about 60 pounds, maybe, like altogether from 23 all the way to 24 September. That wasn't all of it was not tirzepatide. I would say a chunk of that was on my own. A chunk of that was tirzepatide. But the point is, what I was talking to Audrey today, and I'm taking a GLP-1 again. And that's one of the things is that food noise is gone. Like that thought of, that's what I would have is I need to eat something. And I was like, I just need to snack something. And that feeling of what's the next thing, or I'm not doing anything, what can I snack on? That's not there anymore. It's missing to the point where, of course, I have to remind myself I have to eat. And then, going through eating, you have to be careful. You're not gonna, it'll make you nauseous if you eat crap. So, but yeah, that's a really interesting thing that I've noticed from that. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now. With that, that was hard working with a doctor. Now I'm working with like a third party company, but with a doctor, it was hard because I thought she was really great. She also was like a general practitioner, but apparently she also does weight loss, whatever, around the US. And the issue was I would have so much anxiety every week of going in there because it would be this look of disappointment if I didn't lose any weight. And to the point where there were times where I wasn't really eating anything. And it would be some of those times I'd be like, well, like I'm doing everything right. She's like, no, I know.
Did we watch that 1,000-pound person or 600-pound person together where that one lady was saying she was putting in that work and that doctor was like really giving her that business?
Well, it's hard. That's
I don't know if she was putting in the work or not. But
I said, I will tell you, I'm not working out, but I am walking. And I said, however,
that's working out.
I told her, I said, my issue is, I said, I'm not really eating to begin with. And I said, that's my problem. And then I binge eat at dinner time. I don't eat all day. I binge eat at dinner time. And I said, my bigger issue is everything hurts. And I said, so I don't want to move. I don't want to get up. I don't want to walk. I don't want to do anything. I'm trying to walk. I walk at work. My son was walking with me. She was like, yeah, I just know you're not doing anything. I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. So anyway, the point of all that was a lot of anxiety to go in there. And what's interesting is like, soon as she switched me to tirzepatide, it did start falling off, so I didn't have as much. But then it became like, well, you should be losing more a week. Which, by the way, I've done a lot of studying on this now because now I'm going on not a continuous, but I've started my next tirzepatide journey or GLP-1 compound journey, whatever you want to call it. But it's not what she was pushing for was not realistic. When I look at it now, she was hoping to see like big pounds come off every week, and I would lose maybe 1 pound, maybe 2. And what I'm reading is that's the more of the norm. Right now, currently, because I just started, I'm on my 3rd week and I've lost 10 pounds, but that's not the norm, and this is going to level out eventually. But it was every week that anxiety of having to hear her be like, well, you should have lost 6. And I'm like, that is a lot of weight constantly every week. And she was like, yeah, but that means you're not trying. So
I could not.
So when that journey stopped, when I had used all of what I paid for, I was done.
I'm glad I didn't end up going to that place.
Yeah. It was hard. It would have been great. Don't get me wrong. It would have been so great to lose, 5 pounds every single week, because then I would have lost even more weight. But that's not realistic, and even that drug makes it very clear that that's not realistic. I think the percentage is between 15 to 25% of your weight, within a year, though. I don't think it's within immediate. So it was, looking back at that now, I'm like, oh, I would never recommend this doctor again, because that just wasn't for me. That was it made it more stressful when I would go in there. I think one time I even cried.
I would have as well.
Yeah.
And
she was like, it's okay. I'm just like,
it's okay, then shut up.
Yeah. It was just like, well, you're saying I'm not doing it. And I am. I'm doing what you're wanting me to do. Like, I am paying for this. You're not paying for this. I am paying for this. You know what I mean? So, and then even like when I stopped, so like on my last shot, she was like, well, you've done all this work and you've paid all this money. So if you're not, what are you going to do to keep this off? And I go, I don't know. I said, but this is very expensive, so not this. And so she subscribed me that Finagrin, which I still have. That's not the right name, but it's something like that. So I have those pills. I just don't take them because I have which I told her, I don't have high blood pressure. I have anxiety, and things like caffeine and something like that tend to make me have panic attacks. But she was like, well, a lot of people, they gain a lot of weight when they go back on it. And she's like scaring you and saying all the things. And then you hear the things on the internet and they're saying, yeah, you're going to gain it all back times 2, right? I only gained back about 15, maybe 17 pounds at the most. And that's within a 9-month period or maybe 8-month period. So it stuck. Like my appetite never came back fully, which is great. Anyway, it's an interesting thing. Now I don't have to deal with that. Now I check in with the doctor once a month and like, how's it working? It's going good. Okay, increase your thing and move on.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
The whole high school thing and stuff just made me think. It's like, so I was on my getting snatched journey. But again, I never stuck with pills just because I've never let it dictate. I've taken pills to where I was thoroughly not hungry, but my mind is a butthole and it will not. It's like, no, I get that you're not hungry, but you do need to eat. So I'm like, God damn it, mind. But anyway, as a youth, I was a pretty curvy gal, as in have a big chest. I don't have a bubble butt like my gorgeous sister-in-law here.
And I don't have a big chest.
Well, my butt wasn't too bad, but now's a different story. But it wasn't too bad. But I had some nice curves, like with, the hips and all that stuff. Oh, yeah. I starved myself all the way down to like a 4. I think that's the lowest pant size I had ever gotten into, which for me, that was probably way too thin. Because I was talking to my dad one day and talking to him about like what my goals were and stuff. Because they were very supportive of, me wanting to be healthy and this and that. And my dad was like, I don't think you need to lose any more weight, nor like you need to be careful because you're getting too thin. And it's like, that's not what you see. I'm just like, I always had like a certain, weight in mind or a certain size in mind, which as you get older, I think you realize, okay, one, weight looks different on everyone, so you really shouldn't judge your weight upon what somebody else weighs. Right. Just like me and you, we could weigh the same, but we're going to look completely different in different outfits because we have a completely different body. And
I get that a lot. I kind of joke when people say they have body dysmorphia. I'm like, I think I have shallow house syndrome because I really think that I'm still skinny.
There are times where I'm like, ooh, you be looking good. And then you take the picture and you're like, oh.
Yes.
How does this picture look like this?
My son had a senior walk and I was like, yes, I'm looking good for these pictures. I'm ready to take a picture with him. And I was like,
I'm so skinty right now.
There are times, I don't know if y'all remember the movie Shallow Hal. I know it's very problematic now, but the point is, there are times where I will like pick up my jeans and hold them up. I'm like, I don't even know whose jeans these are. And when they fit me, I feel offended. I feel like...
That's what I'm saying. I have it either way. Sometimes I'm like, like if I'm in that skinny era, I might think that I look too big. But then there are also times I look and I'm in that same era. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I look super, super thin. Yes. I feel like super snatched. There have been plenty of times when I was a decently small size though, right?
Yeah.
And there are always bigger parts of my body. Like my stomach's never been like really flat, nor have had really good arms. And I blame that on genetics. And that's real rude, by the way. But I would be like, oh, I am looking so good. And then I, again, see that picture. Even if if I looked at it now, I'd be like, oh, you're thin. But it's like, you see that, then I'm like, well, why is that stomach hanging out? And that is so rude.
I was looking at those pictures from the senior walk, and I was like, the fuck is that bitch? I don't know her. That's not even, who did that? Like, I will look in the mirror and I'm like, yes, this is how I'm supposed to look. Like, my thing with the GLP-1 thing, it's not because I feel like I need to be snatched. I think I'm beautiful. I'm comfortable with myself. The problem is I'm in pain. And so my knees hurt, my hips hurt, everything fucking hurts. So I'm like, I've got to get the weight off, and I'm struggling.
You're going to be moving here. Yeah. Like, you're going to be real close.
Yes.
They have that Planet Fitness right there. I don't want to go lift weights by myself because people creep me out. Not just men, by the way, but really just anybody around me creeps me out. Especially men. But I really want to get into more of like doing the weights and stuff because we can walk around the neighborhood, and I think that'd be fine for cardio and whatnot. But I do love a treadmill as well. Oh my god! But I could have a weightlifting partner.
Well, it was really good too. And my son is so great. Like, any time through my journey, like when I first started losing the weight in 2023, he was fantastic. Like, we would go to the gym. Mm-hmm. He would push me. He'd be like, "We have to go, Mom. This is what we want to do." Because he sees me get upset sometimes, mostly because the pain is a lot. I'm like, I just need to lose weight. And like, I'll get really frustrated because it hurts so much. Again, I don't have an issue with the way I look. It's I'm in pain. And so, but he would be great. He would do partner workouts with me all the time. And, so back to that, like, it's just one of those things. I just don't see that person. And when I am thinner, because I have lost the weight before, I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. And this feels right.
Yeah. Well, you just feel better in general health wise too. So, my whole thing was, after I had Olivia and then after I was done breastfeeding and all that stuff, and, I started to get healthy and whatnot again, it was so I would have more energy and actually want to do things, because just like even now, I'm not really working out much, and that doesn't give me like the motivation nor energy to be like, oh, hey kids, let's go to the park. Let's do this. Let's do that. Like, I want to have that. Essentially, really, it's just energy. Again, to do that stuff. And I think I am so happy that I did start losing weight after I was done breastfeeding Olivia and stuff, because then she had like an eye infection. She ended up having to go to the hospital. And I could lay comfortably in the bed with her, and it was like a really small bed, and like there was just, I felt like I I fit better into, I could look, those beds, it wasn't like a regular bed. It did end up giving us a regular bed because I wasn't sure what the heck they meant, but she was like in a small bed that was specifically for kids, and it was only supposed to be her in there. But this is me crawling in there and laying in there with her. But point is, I could, and I was really happy about that. But when I am bigger, and this doesn't go for all bigger people, this is just me specifically speaking for myself. When I am bigger and I'm not eating the way I'm supposed to, I don't feel like doing much. I don't want to go places. I don't want to do things. Not only because you're kind of like, oh, maybe you feel out of place, or, you don't like the way you look, but it's also just a drive thing. Like, I don't have the energy is not the right word, but
motivation,
energy, desire, motivation. I don't have that to go out and live my life the way that it needs to be lived.
I get that.
So, but oh my gosh, yes, we need to go get memberships and be weightlifting partners.
Oh, that'd be so good. Yeah, we'll get on that. It'll be good.
I'm really excited about that now. I just thought about that because I was telling look, guys, if you don't already know, I'm on TikTok, which I think most of you guys would know, but I'm on TikTok. I've been on a TikTok journey. I started going down a TikTok rabbit hole, and I'm getting sucked into this TikTok world that I swear to geez, in like 5 to 10 years, there'll probably be like the dark side of TikTok documentary kind of a thing. And I feel like I started getting sucked down this dark hole of TikTok, like the bad part of it. And I'm pulling myself out. I'm pulling myself because I realized, oh, I'm getting too deep into this. And I was like, with the money I've spent on TikTok, I could have had, that what's that bougie gym? I could have had I could have had so many darn bougie gym memberships, like over and over and over. I don't even want to see how much money I've spent. Because when I first started this, I was like, I am not going to spend this money, like, the gifts and stuff like that. I was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I would recharge for like 29 cents and throw this and that. But then I started getting sucked in. And I just went down this deep, anywho, guys, I'm coming out of it. And I want to be on the light side, which I think is the people that I'm going to stay with. The light side of TikTok, where it's just fun. Yeah. You can be on lives, you can do all these things, but it's also just fun. Because I went on TikTok for a certain mission, and boy, has it completely derailed. Yeah. But anyway, I was spend money on a gym.
I think that'll be really good.
I could have bought so many weight loss shots.
Oh my gosh, speaking of rabbit holes, I know we're coming to an end, but I have to tell you, my medical rabbit hole, because it's related. Girl, I was on TikTok the other day, and this girl, I've been following her whole story. Somehow I got onto ostomy bag TikTok.
Oh, yeah, I can't do those.
Yeah, it wasn't sad. This girl was amazing. Like, she is, I don't know how she is. I wish I knew her handle, and I would tell y'all go check her out. But she is amazing. Like, really cute little girl. She's 22 years old. She used to be super fit, and she said she's always had problems with constipation, which is what hooked me, because I was like, what's happening here? Oh. And, because I have those issues, and her words, not mine. Basically, her butt was falling out. And
she had a prolapse?
Nope. Like, all of her organs are slowly coming out of her body, including her everything. Her bladder now has the problem. Everything has a problem. She ended up having to get an ostomy bag, and they removed the colon, and then they took, I'm not a doctor. I have to remind you, because I know y'all think I'm a doctor, but I don't know the technical terms, but they had to like slice up her colon to figure out what was going on. And it turns out like if she had better doctors and they would have caught this earlier, it could have prevented her permanently losing her colon. And now she has like necrosis that's attacked. She has a rare disease that's attacking slowly all of her organs. Her bladder stopped working now that her colon, Lord. She just got the colon out. But now her bladder is not working. And so that's a thing. And she has to keep like cathetering herself or whatever. It's crazy. And so, but she was like, so they don't know how much, but she is, and then the ostomy bag, like where they put it, she was on, I guess, ostomy TikTok, and they were like, no, keep it away from your belly button. That could be a real problem. And so she told the doctors, like, can we really keep it away from there? Like, I don't want it there. I hear it's a lot of problems. When she woke up, it was by her belly button. And it is. It's constantly leaking. It's like you can't, it's not, I guess the way your stomach is.
I bet you that was a
male
doctor.
It probably was. But she, but anyway, all of this is like, I went down this whole rabbit hole of ostomy bags and how to care for them. And I went to medical school, so I did have to learn how to do all of that. I didn't finish. I'm not a doctor. Again, I just want y'all to know that. But I did go to nursing school. I ended up quitting for other reasons we can talk about another time. But I had to learn.
I know a doctor you can get a job with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. But her attitude is just the best. Like I would not be happy. I would be a very sad person, but she is.
There are a lot of people that have those obstacles that somehow can find the positive in things. And here we are, and we're like, my fries are cold.
Yeah,
this is the worst day
I am.
in my life.
I think wiping my butt's gross.
So gross.
No, I do though.
So gross.
I do.
No, she don't. No, she don't. She probably walk around with stink butt.
No, I can't stand a stink butt. But it does gross me out. Every time I wish I had a bidet because I think it's so gross.
Yeah, I've thought about bidets.
I just think all of it's gross.
Yeah, I often think about getting a bidet.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, but you know what I saw? Okay, well, I guess we can end on this. I saw on TikTok about the bidets. This woman, I guess it makes sense. I don't know. Listen, guys, I've never had a bidet. I'm not from other countries where they have bidets.
I'm scared the doo-doo will go back on the bidet.
Well, here's what, okay, so she has a bidet, okay, in her bathrooms, and she has, okay, but I don't think it's gross. Maybe. Let me tell you, but let me finish. She has a basket of rags next to the toilet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
so
she has
pat afterwards?
Yeah, clean rag, dirty rag bin.
Well, that dirty rag bin needs to be covered at least.
It's not.
It really do.
But there's no doo-doo on it. It's just, she was like, no, you guys, y'all are overreacting. And she's like, it's just to dry yourself. But I'm like.
Yeah, I get the dry part.
But then I'm just like.
I just need that bin then covered.
Okay, is that a thing? Is that what happens in other countries? There's a
I
rag
do.
to
Yeah,
dry your butt?
Well, I think people
How
still
does that work in public?
Toilet paper. I still think people use the toilet paper
so
to dry off because that is a thing. It is just supposed to rinse you. You don't let you don't free ball dry.
What if you have sticky poo?
What? But the bidet still rinses everything off.
I know, but if it's sticky, is it gonna get it?
Yeah, it's high pressured.
I don't know.
I guess go buy one and then have a sticky poo.
Well, this was poo talk.
I'm just scared that it would somehow get on the bidet. Somehow.
No, I don't think it'll get on the bidet because it's just like, I think it's just like, we know nothing of bidets, but I think it's like it shoots forward at you. Like not up into you, I think.
I don't know.
We're uncultured swine.
Oh, God. Okay.
All right, guys.
All right. Well, hopefully we will be back next week for another episode of Was That Trauma? Until then, download, share with your friends, subscribe, follow.
Look at us at TikTok.
Do all the things, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.